Think about true love. Often people think about this fairy tale end, sticking together through better and worse, growing old together. But for me, true love had a whole different journey. For me, it meant letting go of the person that I love most and wishing him everything, even if that meant with someone else. I was 18 years old when I met my first true love. He was just 2 years older. And I was just starting university. I had a lot of things going on for me, but he was more struggling. So he never finished school. He had a very different upbringing. Um, he had a job that was just, passionless. He struggled also with his finances. But I always saw his potential. I just always believed in him. And one day, behind his back, I went and sent some of his pictures to 4 modeling agencies in Amsterdam. And out of 4, 3 wanted to eventually book him as a model. And so he ended up picking Touche Models, which was the biggest one in Amsterdam. Suddenly, this guy was just traveling the whole time and making a lot of money. He even ended up doing campaigns for Nike, Men's Health. He was even in a clip of Beyonce. Because he was making a lot of money, he was able to buy a house. I actually was the one that found the house. And I was like, hey, I think it's best for you to just invest. This is something that, you will keep and it will grow into more wealth. The idea was that we would live together, but we were smart enough to decide not to buy it together, but just for him to buy it. So I helped with, decorating everything. We did a little construction work. We made an extra room in the back because there was a lot of space in the back, but he was missing bedrooms. And so we created that as well. But eventually, when it was really time for me to move in, he helped out one of his best friends. And in a very weird way, I got this message of Ash, I'm sorry, but I'm gonna let, my buddy stay here for a while. And so I kind of already left, my nest. And I was like, I'm not going back to my parents now. I was early 20s when that happened. And so I rented something for short term. And in my lunch break, I was looking on our local search engine to find a place that I could buy for myself because I'm like, there's no way in hell that when I'm going back to my parents because I already left. And I'm like, no, once you're out, you're out. To I'm just gonna buy my own stuff. And then eventually I found something very fast. I renovated it, made it my own, and it was the first time that this love showed me to be independent and it showed me to choose myself when things get rough. And that house really symbolized everything. It was the start of me growing into a woman. And it was also the start of me, building on my own, yeah, form of financial freedom because that house is now one of the houses that I rent out. Going back to the storyline, when I finished my renovations and I moved into my house, we started to rekindle our connection again. We were separated for the entire period of time, but since we had a long history and I was still crazy about him, we gave it another try. But I think it was right after that, maybe a year or so, that he decided to move to New York for his modeling career because there were just so many options and opportunities there. And also, he's half American, so he already had a passport. It was easy for him to just go there. And so we officially broke up after a relationship of around 7, 8 years. And I think he stayed in New York for 7 years. We didn't really have contact, so I would sometimes visit him if I was in New York. I would sometimes send him a message on his birthday, but we did not really have contact. And so years later, 7 years later, it's a weird 7 year cycle. his friend, the one that moved in his house, I always stayed in contact with him. He actually once even said, Ash, I'm so ashamed for what happened. And I know that this is one of the reasons why you guys broke up. And I'm like, it's all good. You know, I forgave him. I forgave everything. I was like, it had to happen. And I'm happy that he was able to help you. And it was also, you know, for him to stay close to his back then girlfriend. And so now they're getting married. So it was a good cause, you know. Anyway, I was invited for their wedding. And so I got this message from my ex-boyfriend after 7 years, like, Ash, I'm coming to the Netherlands and are you going to the wedding? I'm like, yeah, I'm invited too. And he's like, okay, save me a dance. And so I went there to this beautiful venue, which was actually very close to my home. I remember my mom dropping me off. It was a beautiful, beautiful day. I think it was around summertime. And, you know, he was just as beautiful as I remember. And I remember even it was funny because the bridesmaids they were all just looking at him, and all his attention was towards me ever since I was there, and you could really tell, you know, and even on the dance floor, talking about fairy tales, it felt like this, you know, Beauty and the Beast moment where the spotlight was on us, and I didn't make it late that night, so he offered to bring me home. And I wanted to walk home, honestly, because that's what I loved doing even back then. But he's like, no, 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 I will bring him. So he borrowed a car from his sister-in-law, and then he said, hey, can I see you tomorrow? I was like, sure, let's do that. And so I met with him in town. We're from the same town, and he told me because and that's a weird thing. That's a weird little detail which I might not have to add, but it's just fun. Why not? Like he had to go to his house, and the house that he ended up renting out while he was living in New York, to fix something. And so I was with him, and it was so weird to be back in that house after so many years. And it really made me think back of, oh my God, this could have been our home, you know? But anyway, he mentioned when we were together that day, like, Gosh, I'm thinking about going back to the Netherlands. In the meantime, apart from his modeling career, he's also a multi-fighter and he has this huge passion on fitness and CrossFit and everything. And he started his own gym in Manhattan with some other investors. And he wanted to scale that back in the Netherlands because one of his founders was his friend from the Netherlands, and he wanted to come back to the Netherlands to raise his family. And so he's like, I think I'm gonna come back too. Maybe this is our chance, you know, that we can be together again. And I'm like, oh my God, this kinda, it felt like I waited for 7 years for him to come back, not consciously, but unconsciously. And so everything in me was like, oh my God, yes, I'm so open for that, you know? Um, and then he invited me to go with him to Antwerp the next day because he was taking his flight from Belgium. And so and that's what we did. We took the train and we went and spent a beautiful day in Antwerp. But this time the goodbye didn't feel sad because we stayed in touch. And later that year, around November, I was invited to go to New York. But yeah, what should have been this beautiful reunion and rekindling wasn't exactly what happened. So he had a roommate, and his roommate had his fiance in town, and it was just too crowded. And so I was like, you know what? Let me just go and find a spot for myself. And so the rest of my stay, I like majority of the time I was there for 3 weeks. I think I already left like the same day or the day after. I don't know. I don't even recall staying there. So I just found my own spot and I was like, hey, I'm here for you. I'm here to get to know you. So you know, rekindle that connection. And I think the first week we spent some time together until one night, I think it was after dinner, he said to me, Ash, I really love you. I care about you. And I'm so grateful for everything you did to me, for me. But my feelings for you are not romantic. You know, they're more like a friendship. And I'm like, oh my God, like everything shattered. And, you know, like it was the most horrifying time to be in New York too. It was during elections. People were really down about, um, I think it was Biden that was chosen. And so yeah, the city was a reflection of how I felt, honestly, freaking down to the gutter. And it was when Obama left and Biden came in. So yeah, I spent the final 2 weeks by myself, and it was the most horrifying thing ever. Because then the city can become very confrontational. But fast forward to, I think, a few months later. It was already the new year. It was already 2017, but it was early in the new year. I think around March. Don't ask me why I know. And I still had my Facebook back then. And so his brother, who I followed apparently, had this video of his brother being in town. And I'm like, he's in town? And then I saw him with a girl next to him, and I just knew instantly. Like, I not only did I knew that's his girlfriend, I knew this is gonna be his wife. And I also remember that that night it was a full moon. And so I felt every emotion that I had to feel. And then I did something magical. And then, and looking back, I'm like, whoa, it took something to be able to do that. But I said, I bless you with your love. And what I meant saying with that was, even if it's not me that you choose, and even if, our love was not lasting, the love that I feel for you is bigger than that. And so I wish you the world, even if that means with someone else. And so I used that full moon to completely release myself from him and to pour all that love towards them. And I think honestly, 2 weeks later, early April, I met Figo's dad. And even though our relationship eventually did not end together, that relationship is what brought my beautiful son in my life, right? Who is the biggest love of all in my life. And so love is just so mysterious, and it comes in so many different ways. And then one day in the summer last year, I was in the Netherlands and I was walking by myself. And then suddenly there he was. It was like, what? Again, after 7 years, there he was on his bike. He saw me across the street and he just chased to see me. And it was so wholesome. He had his little one of his girls in the back of his bike. And we were talking, and I left that conversation feeling so happy, so wholesome, so because I felt the love between us, but it wasn't romantic. It wasn't the one that got away. It wasn't painful. It wasn't anything like that. It was like we both wish each other the world, and that was just such a gift. And the reason I tell this story, because yesterday I had this episode, which was about love and how life has become my lover. And I recalled a little bit about, these painful stories in my past, not just romantic stories, but also with people like, friendships or family members or anything. We all have things that happens. And this is a story I felt worth telling. And I wanted to wait for today to tell a story, because try and tell a story that has a time span of 21 years, guys. That's a lot, and I really wanted to feel like if I tell the story, it needs to be correct and respectful also towards his family and everything. But I wanted to do that also because it's Valentine's Day, and yeah, love is in the air for me, and these heart shapes, these heartbreaks are parts of the story that formed me into who I am. You know, a lot of people could say like, hey, yeah, you invested so much in him and blah blah blah, or now someone else got all that goodness, but I just don't see it that way because, you know, even what happened in New York, I had to break that illusion that I was still kind of waiting for him for 7 years. You know, I still kind of had hope, and that hope came very close when I met him again during the wedding. But that illusion had to be broken because that's not the true love as we know it from the fairy tales. It would have been a great story to tell. Yeah, you sometimes hear it. Like, yeah, after many years. I actually just heard it this week. This beautiful lady from my town, who, after being single for many, many years, like 15 years or something, now rekindled with one of her high school loves. And she's originally from France and she's half Mexican. And eventually she moved here in Mexico and they completely disconnected. Oops. Completely disconnected. And now I think after last 5 years, they were rekindling their connection to the point now that she actually went to France in the summer. She met with him while she was visiting her parents. And he said, I've always loved you. I could never get over you. And I still choose you. And now they're merging their families together. And he's moving to Mexico and she's moving to a new town because they're, yeah, details. Anyway, point being, I hear those stories. And I think it's beautiful because I love love. I was so excited for her. But my story went different. And there is no hope anymore. And that's what I love about that journey in I want to say England, in New York. I had to let go of that illusion because life had a different plan with me. Life didn't want me to attach it to a person. Life wanted me to find myself. You know, like the first breakup really helped me with that journey of choosing my own house, building it, and pouring love in myself and starting to love on me. And then the second version of that heartbreak was really about breaking all those illusions and deepening that self-love and deepening that love with life. That's where I am now, you know. For a while, actually, this has been my life. Like, love has been my lifestyle. It's the way I move through life. And I honestly think, no, I don't think that. I believe that that's the secret behind my youth, why I stay young. And this is how I build my business now. You know, it's like I pour love into what I do, and that's the foundation of this. This will become something like magical, and I'm currently watching it unfold. And I'm so excited to watch it birth because all these breakdowns and breakthroughs and hardships and everything just made me choose love time and time again. And now I'm like that love juice is what I'm pouring into this. And I'm just excited to see it blossoming into whatever it wants to blossom in. But it's founded by love. And I can only imagine, and that's the beauty, I can't even imagine what it will become. But I'm so front row seat excited to watch it happen. And you know, the thing that I saw in him when I met him as a 18-year-old, his potential and everything, that's what I see in people in general. And that's what I use in my work when I guide people. I see their potential. You know, I bring them the vision that they're not even able to reach yet. And I give them the action steps and the courage and everything that's needed to just go for it. Thank you so much for watching. Happy Valentine's Day if you watch it today. Happy Love Day every day, guys. I see you in tomorrow's episode. Bye bye.